All right, ranking the last 10 college football national championship games. And this is kind of an old school video for me off the webcam using the laptop here. We're just doing this thing live and uploading it. So the last 10 games, 2015 through 2024, every single championship from the playoff era, starting in 2015 with Ohio State and Ezekiel Elliott, Cardell Jones, and Urban Meyer. They were the 4 seed going into the playoff, and they play against Oregon in the championship game. The Heisman Marcus Mariota, disappointing in the championship. I think the final score was 42-24 Ohio State, kind of a blowout. And just for that, I will put this in C tier. Not a great game, honestly, but congrats to Ohio State for winning that game. It was kind of fun seeing them make that crazy run from losing to Virginia Tech earlier in the season and then sneaking into the playoff and winning it all. It was kind of fun, kind of a Cinderella story, even though it's Ohio State. And this one's 2016. This is Derrick Henry, the Heisman. I think they had Jake Coker as their quarterback, and O.J. Howard was the guy who went off in that game. And it was Bama versus Clemson, 45-40 shootout, phenomenal game. And it came down to the fourth quarter, a few big plays, definitely an S-tier title game in the year 2016. I feel like 2016 was such a great year for sports. Like, there were so many great moments, iconic all around. And here we go, 2022, Stetson Bennett. Once again, Alabama was in this game, but Georgia gets the victory. They pull away in the fourth quarter. This game was in Indianapolis. It was a close game, kind of low scoring in the first half, and then Georgia pulled away late, winning their first title game in a long time. I'll put this in kind of above average B tier. It was fine. Nothing really truly memorable about this game. Unless you're a Georgia fan, this game's kind of forgettable, honestly. Stetson Bennett did, he had an all right game. It was nothing crazy. But they get the win there. Kirby Smart. And then here we go, another Alabama game. Oh my goodness, this is 2018 with Tua. And again, Bama versus Georgia, actually, the same matchup. I think Georgia was up 13-0 at halftime in this game. They were rolling, and then Bama comes back in the second half. It goes to overtime, and that big, 35-yard touchdown pass from Tua to, I believe, Devontae Smith, I think, in that game. And Bama wins at overtime. A great game. Definitely high A tier. It could be S tier, but honestly, I feel like the regulation in this game wasn't that exciting. It was overtime, which people remember of this game. But the first half kind of sucked, if I recall. And here we go, 2017. This must be Deshaun Watson and Clemson versus Alabama once again. And that late pass to Hunter Renfrow for the touchdown. Clemson wins on the final drive. That's definitely, I'm going to put high A tier once again. You could say S tier, but it's so tough because S tier is like the perfect game, which 2016 was high scoring, back and forth. This one was a bit more low scoring, I think. Maybe decide 31-28 or something like that. I kind of forget, but yes, I remember Deshaun Watson and Hunter Renfrow from that game. That's really it. Speaking of Clemson, 2019, Trevor Lawrence. This game was a blowout. Oh my goodness, they dominated Alabama in this game. It was I'm trying to think of the score. It might have been 44-16 Clemson. It was never close. Trevor Lawrence dominated this game, and this is low C tier. It's not the worst game, as you guys will see later in the video, but this game was a total blowout, one-sided. Nobody expected that because I'm pretty sure Clemson was the underdogs going into this game, and they just steamrolled Alabama out of nowhere. Trevor Lawrence, it was his first year, right? It was his first year as a quarterback for Clemson out of nowhere, and Clemson gets their first win in 2 years since they beat Alabama in 2017. And then here we go, the COVID championship 2021 in front of a mostly empty arena, mostly empty stadium. I think it was in Florida. Alabama versus Ohio State. It's such a shame because this game could have been so big, Alabama-Ohio State, but there was just no hype around it. Nobody was there. It was kind of a dead atmosphere. And Alabama won this game easily, 42-21 or something. It was never close. And this is definitely a D-tier championship. Just because it's COVID and there's nobody there, you can't count it as a real game. And then 2024, this year, Michigan versus Washington, two undefeated teams, 14-0. Jim Harbaugh, sorry. Michael Penix Jr. This game was interesting. The first half was somewhat close, but I felt like Washington was never really in the game. I know it was like a one-score game in the third quarter, but it just felt like Michigan dominated this game. I'll put it at an average. It's kind of a low B tier for me. It's forgettable. No one's going to remember this game in 10 years. Congrats to Michigan, though, for going 15-0, potentially cheating their way to a championship. I won't say that, but things are out there. And then 2023, TCU versus Georgia. This game was a thrashing. There was like hype coming into this game for some reason. People thought TCU could beat Georgia, which I never thought they could, honestly. This Georgia team was so good. And Stetson Bennett played. I mean, he played all right, but it's like, what can you do? TCU just never showed up to this game. And Georgia just ran the ball, and they had some big plays and I think some turnovers in there. It was 65-7. Just a total blowout, one-sided. I mean, there's nothing to say about this game, really. They were just totally outclassed. This is definitely a D-tier title for me. So forgettable. And then 2020, the final game before the COVID era. Joe Burrow, the Heisman, the greatest team ever, LSU, playing Clemson, who won 28 games or 29 games going into this championship game. Again, there was a lot of hype going into this game, but it felt kind of flat. I think, the first half, Clemson kept it kind of close, but honestly, LSU was never going to lose this game. It doesn't matter who they play. They could have played Ohio State, Alabama. They were never losing this game. Joe Burrow, he took total control of this game in the second half, and LSU won by a couple scores. And it was all right. It was cool seeing Joe Burrow smoke the cigar at the end, whatever. It's kind of high B tier. You could say low A tier just because, they beat Clemson, who was like undefeated and everything. I'll put it in above average right now. Yeah, so the best one is that 2016 Alabama-Clemson game, the first game of that series, kind of the dynasty rivalry thing they had going there for a few years. Derrick Henry, O.J. Howard. You could argue putting 2018 in there as well with Tua in the overtime game. Same with Deshaun Watson in 2017. Those are definitely way above average games. And then below average, that Clemson-Bama game in 2019, you could put that D tier as well. It was a total blowout. And then, I think the most below average, kind of averages game is Ohio State versus Oregon in 2015. Nobody remembers that game. Marcus Mariota didn't show up. And then I would say, the most average game of all these, though, has to be 2022, Georgia, Alabama. It was just kind of a low-scoring, middle of the tier game. It was somewhat interesting. It was kind of close and going to the fourth quarter, but it's kind of whatever. Two SEC schools playing each other, it's whatever. So, guys, that's it. I'm rambling at this point. My throat is kind of dry. I should have drank water before this video. So if the audio sounds funky, that's on me. But I just want to do this little fun video, the last 10 title games. If you disagree, put in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Have a great night. See you in the next video. Bye.